Welcome back to Tonight on Breaking. It's now 3 weeks onto the president-elect's inauguration, and this week's top story is that the government has postponed the population census, proving that procrastination isn't only for the university students. As you all know, the FG has been planning a population census since 2021. They have spent the last year preparing and hyping up this census. I mean, the National Population Council was organizing training, doing trials, and promising new technologies for an accurate census count. The federal government even gave them $1.8 billion for the exercise. Initially, the general population census was scheduled to take place between March 29th and April 2nd. A few weeks before the census, the FG postponed it to May 3rd. Fast forward to a week before the May 3rd date, the FG has postponed it indefinitely. But why? According to one of the census managers, the postponement was due to the change in government administration and the post-election mood in the country. But we have a different theory. According to the estimate, Nigeria should have about 215 million people. We actually think that our population count is overinflated, and we are just trying to buy more time so that we can give birth to more children and catch up to our own lives. But now my question is, what is going to happen to the $1.8 billion designated for the census? Have they spent it already? Where is all that money going? That's what I want to know. Show me the money. In other news, the president-elect Bola Tinubu is back in town, looking all fresh with fresh promises. After 4 weeks of resting outside the country, Tinubu is starting with a bang, or should we say a raise? Earlier this week, during the Workers' Day celebration, the president-elect issued a statement saying workers will have more than a minimum wage in his administration. He promises what he's calling a living wage for Nigerians, a wage that will allow Nigerians to have a decent life and provide for their families. If you are wondering what is the difference between a minimum wage and a living wage, let me help you out. A minimum wage is a standard amount that applies across the country. Right now, the minimum wage is 30,000 naira per month. A living wage takes into account the family size and location. So if you have a big family or if you live in an expensive city, for example, your living wage will be higher. So basically, if you live in certain parts of the country, you will get a higher living wage. I wonder what could go wrong with this policy. Still on the president-elect Bola Tinubu, earlier this week, Tinubu paid his first official visit as the president-elect to Rivers State to commission a flyover in the state. As expected, Tinubu gave a speech, and even though the mainstream media highlighted parts of his speech, somehow they missed this part.
You offer me a basket of wine that didn't flow.
As you know, the Yoruba language is known for its many phrases and double meanings. Wine is supposed to flow, so wine that does not flow is useless. And for a Muslim, which Tinubu is, a basket of wine is essentially a useless gift. So here we are with Wike offering Tinubu a useless gift and Tinubu letting Wike know that his gift was useless. I mean, where does this relationship go from there? Later in his speech, Tinubu gives us a hint.
I'm happy that we are being able to establish a relationship. I will leave Sanwo-Olu to give you back your banter.
You know that couple that always fights in front of their friends in a passive-aggressive way and they make everyone around them uncomfortable? Yeah, that's going to be these two for the next 4 years. Moving on to other news, over the course of last week and this week, hundreds of Nigerian citizens, mostly students, have been stranded at the Sudan-Egyptian border. As you all know, there is currently an ongoing conflict in Sudan's capital city of Khartoum, as well as other cities, as competing military factions struggle for power. On April 19, different countries began to evacuate their citizens from Sudan, and on Thursday last week, the Nigerian government finally arranged for buses to transport stranded students in Sudan to neighboring Egypt, where they could be airlifted to Nigeria safely. However, when they reached the border, the Egyptian authorities were not very welcoming. The Egyptian authorities were like, "No, we are not letting you inside without your papers." I'm sorry, what papers are you supposed to have when you're fleeing a war zone? Nigerian students were stranded outside the border for 6 whole days. After interventions from our government, they finally agreed to allow Nigerians to cross, but under the strict condition that there must be aircrafts already on ground to airlift Nigerians out of Egypt. And there must be buses to take the students from the Aswan border directly to the airport. So no stopping at the pyramids for sightseeing and no trying to japa to Egypt. As of this recording, 376 students have been evacuated to Nigeria thanks to our Air Force. We are happy that our citizens are safely being evacuated back to Nigeria. That's all for tonight on Breaking. I'm John Iwodi. I'll see you back here next week. Thank you.